You're listening to the Fit Mind, Fit Body podcast, where we explore the connection between a fit body and positive mental health. And our big mission? It's to help 10,000 runners to develop fitter minds in the next 2 years. I'm your host, Michelle Frost. Let's get moving. Welcome to this episode of the Fit Mind, Fit Body podcast, where we speak to Stephanie Barstad. Stephanie shares her love of running with us. We talk about how running, it's just not complicated, but it's really, really rewarding and a great way to deal with any stress and anxiety that life throws at us. Enjoy. Today on Fit Mind, Fit Body, we have Stephanie Barstad. How do I say your surname?
Barstad.
Okay.
Barstad.
Cool.
Perfect.
Excellent. I just wasn't sure because sometimes I mess up those things.
That's okay.
Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you.
All the way from the United States of America, and I have never met Stephanie, so this is going to be a very fascinating conversation about her journey through life and through running. So let's get started with where did you grow up, Stephanie?
I grew up in southern Wisconsin. I was actually born in Tennessee, but then my parents moved to southern Wisconsin. So that's where I spent most of my childhood.
And did you do a lot of sport then when you were a child?
I did, yes. My whole family played soccer, football for you guys.
I still call it
soccer. Okay. Maybe that's the Brits that do football. So mostly soccer, and then volleyball, basketball. I mean, I kind of tried it all. And then eventually got talked into track in middle school.
Yep. And
then got talked into cross country in high school. So I ran cross country in high school. Still soccer was my main sport, but got a little bit of running in there.
That's awesome. And do you have siblings?
Mm-hmm. I do. There's 4 of us.
Yeah. And were you all sporty sort of people?
Yeah. Yep. We all played soccer. Trying to think. We all ran as well. My sister didn't, though. I think she's the only one that didn't, but both my brothers ran track as well. So
I guess here in Australia we sort of have a vision of what we see in the movies about how in the American schooling system a lot of like track seems to be a big thing there. Like we call it track and field here, I suppose. It was just not as big an emphasis. Like we have a carnival once a year each school does, and the quick kids would then maybe go on and do a bit more, but it's just not as big a deal. So it's quite fascinating how different, countries have different ways of doing that.
Yeah.
Can you remember, like, did you do all of that sport because it was expected and you were, say, maybe quite good at it or whatever, or did you do it because you really enjoyed it? Like
initially it was expected. I did not I clung to my mom. I remember the first time I was supposed to be playing soccer, so but then I grew to love it, and I loved being part of a team and competing, and I was decent at it, so then it just became fun.
And part of who you were, I suppose.
Absolutely. My friends were all there and family was doing it, so it became fun.
So what was your path through school? What did you do when you finished? I'm going to mess up because you have middle school and all of
high school. Yep.
Middle
school and high school. Yep. So I ran through high school and then college, or played soccer through high school, and then I actually played soccer in college. And so running was always kind of amongst all of that. But soccer was always kind of my primary sport.
What did you do personally when you left school? What did you do? What career, or what did you do?
Oh, I'm a physical therapist or a physiotherapist.
Yeah.
So I actually tore a ligament in my knee when I was in high school playing soccer. And so I had to have surgery and go through therapy and all that stuff. And so that's where I learned about it. And I just loved it. I love how the body moves and heals itself. And I love to like figure out how it all works and how to fix it and all those things. So yeah, so I'm a physical therapist, have been for 14 years now.
Oh, and so did you go straight? Have you worked for other people, like, or for hospitals or organizations, or do you have
Yes.
your own business with the physical?
Both now. Yeah.
Oh,
So I
excellent.
was in a hospital, and then I was doing like an outpatient clinic
Mhm.
for a long time. And that's where I kind of started working with runners, actually,
Ah,
which I found out I really loved. You know, I love to run, and then like, oh, I'm a physical therapist too. So those two passions could combine. So that was really fun to get to work with runners. But then after probably 13 years, 12 years of doing that, I was getting kind of burnt out.
yeah.
I wasn't always working with runners, unfortunately, but just, you know, seeing 10 to 12 patients a day, it was just too much. And then, you know, you put kids on top, and
Yeah.
it just wasn't working. So this past August, I left that job, and I'm doing kind of traveling home health job right now. And then I'm trying to build up my own cash-based practice as well,
Oh, wow.
hoping to work with more runners.
Yeah.
So
So you mentioned
yeah,
kids then. You have some children?
yes, I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Oh, they'll keep you busy.
Yeah, they're fun. They're fun ages right now.
And do you see them also following along the sport line that you did as well?
Yeah, our son definitely. He likes soccer, but hockey is his passion, his love.
Yeah.
So he plays hockey, and daughter hasn't really found her thing yet. So we've tried a few things, but nothing has stuck for her. So we'll see.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So how did you get into the world of running? I know that you were running. Obviously, soccer includes running. Lots of sports include running.
Yes. Yeah.
How did running become, a bigger part of your physical
Yeah.
exercise world?
So, I mean, when I ran track in middle school, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it
Yeah.
because I was always more of a team sport. But one of my coaches talked me into joining the cross country team because that was the opposite season of soccer. So I had a free season. So it was either volleyball or cross country. And so I chose cross country. And at my first year, I've never run those distances before. It was 2.5 miles, I think, for the
Mhm.
girls. And it was good. I mean, I was good at it. And I didn't know any better, so I was just out there having fun, you know. And for the first time, like in a long time in school history, I made it to state my freshman year,
Wow.
which like super awesome. But I'm this like introverted person, and so all of a sudden, I'm the only one that made it. Our team didn't make it.
No.
There's signs for me. There's all this stuff, and it mentally, you know, you talk
Yeah.
about mental, I couldn't handle that. And so it came to the race, the state meet, and you know, my coaches tried to prepare me and everything, but this time it's just me in the race. None of my teammates are with me, and it just, I couldn't deal with it. I was going through that race, and I was trying to find a way out of it. I was trying to find a way that I could twist my ankle or something. And so it wasn't a good race, and wasn't a great experience. You know, I told my coaches and my parents, because obviously I started out good, and then mentally I just broke down. And so they're like, what happened? You know, you were way up here. And then, and I don't know if they had ever run into that before,
That's interesting.
because they didn't really know how to deal with it. And my parents, you know, they didn't really either. My dad bought me a couple books, you know, on I think one of them was called Mind, Body, Spirit or something like that, like just trying to understand. But my 14-year-old brain, I mean, it just,
Did you
I didn't
explain?
like that.
Did you explain to them? Were you able to explain to them what was going on? Because even that
Not
itself would have
really.
been.
No, I don't even think at that time I really knew. Like looking back, I mean, I'm just learning like a few years now, obviously, but that I am introverted, and what that means, and like what I don't like and what I like, and why I do the things I do. And I had no idea back then, it was just, just all of a sudden I was singled out and I had nobody with me, and that pressure was just too much. So I actually didn't really like running. I didn't do as well, of course, after that. I continued on with it, but then I hurt my knee. And so I ended up, I came back to running, but I was in the back of the pack, and that was fine with me. I was comfortable there. So anyway, so that was my competitive running experience. And then played soccer in college. And then when that was done, it was like, well, now what? Like, I've lived for sport this long in my life, and now I have nothing, but I still loved to exercise and loved to move my body. So I just started piecing together longer runs, and really enjoyed that. And when it was just for me, it was great.
There's no pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody talked me into doing a half marathon. And so I did that, and ended up, then doing a full marathon. And so I've done 4 fulls. I've done a bunch of halves. I ran Boston, which was so awesome.
Oh, wow.
A few years ago when I was in much better shape. So it's been a interesting journey. I've kind of been in and out of it. Season wise, and I like to do other things. I like to bike and hike and other things too. I lift weights, and so now I want to be like, you're an inspiration to me. Like, I want to be a lifelong runner. I want to be running as long as I possibly can in my life. And so I'm trying to figure out like what my body can handle. And when it breaks down, and what strengthening I need to do in order to not let things break down and all that stuff. So that was a long story, but that's where I'm at. That's my journey in a nutshell.
I love it. Do you find, I'm always interested when people run through a little bit of school, but also when they're running with work as well, especially when work is hard, whether they find that running helps as a relief as well, like whether it's, used as a tool in that way. Because a lot of people that I've spoken to over the years have actually said, I run home from work because then I can let go of all of the work stuff while I'm running. And when I walk through the door, I've let it go and I don't bring it home with me, all the stresses and things of different work situations. And I imagine your work, especially in the hospital situation, when you're dealing with people that are just thrown at you in that, because you don't necessarily get that much choice on who you see, I would think. Sometimes that would be incredibly stressful. Did you find that not just running, but all the other physical exercise things that you do, like your hiking and things, did they all help relieve that, do you think? They
help. Yes, it helps. But nothing is quite like running to let it go. If I'm stressed, or, I deal with anxiety as well, started with work and having kids, and, and so running, if there was a bad day, I could sprint, even if it was for 10 minutes, and just go as hard as I could, and like,
get it out.
It melts all that stuff. Yes. There's just nothing quite like running to deal with all of that stress and anxiety and worry and all that stuff. Running just melts it away.
So how do you fit it in at the moment into your busy life?
Good question. And that's part of the reason too why I'm not like training, competing like I used to, because time is a limiting factor, and I want to be able to do something. So typically I'll work out in the mornings, and right now it's winter and icy, and so I don't run outside, but on the weekends I will. And I'll go to the gym usually 2 days a week to run, and then I try to lift a couple days a week too, and then I do a day of yoga. So my workouts during the week aren't long. I mean, 20 to maybe 45 minutes is all I do during the week. So, yeah.
Do you run with other people when you are doing the outside running?
I don't.
You don't?
I know I don't. We have fabulous running groups here, but the times that they go just don't jive with my family and our schedule, and I could force them, I could make them, make time for it, but the thought of it causes a little anxiety actually in me. So some with my introversion and then anxiety, that kind of clashes. Of course I have before, and once I'm there, it's great.
Yeah.
But it's just easier for me at this point in my life to, and whenever I talk to other runners about that, they totally get it. They're like, yeah, my kids are older, so it doesn't really matter if I'm, there in the morning or whenever. They don't really care. So I'll get to that point, I think, but right now it's easier to just do my thing. So
I think there's seasons. I think we have seasons, and then
for sure,
that's just where you're at the moment. So do you think, are you goal focused for your running? Like, do you've talked about a couple of events, but
yeah, I have been in the past, to the point, like I've had a coach before, because I was frustrated that somebody beat me in a race that I like forever before that had beaten, had always been faster than, and I got beaten. And so I was, and it's only my own little competition. Like I don't know anything about it, but so I hired a coach and, worked on speed and got faster, and it was great. But, then like COVID hit, and then I had a foot injury. So I had to kind of restart everything. And so with all this other stuff with life, I've just this is where I'm at now. I'm really happy with just not really having a goal, so to speak, other than being able to continue running. So I think I'll probably get back to that place, doing some more competitive runs and stuff. But right now it feels good to just be doing this.
You're in maintenance season.
Perhaps. Yeah.
You're just maintaining it, which is cool. Some people I found though, and I can be like that, and that is without that goal or that scary thing out there, whether it's the start of our running season here, the way it works for us, or an event or something, then I just don't have as big an impetus to get out the door on the days when it's raining.
I totally have been there. Yeah, where you like have to have the next race planned or you're not running at all.
Yeah.
Yes, I've definitely been there. So I'm trying to figure out how I can do this instead, how I can just continue running and build up some mileage, do some speed work, just
when do you think you called yourself a runner personally?
I think probably just from being in cross country in high school, we were runners, it never really, I didn't really realize that it was an issue, until I got older and like out of college and started, being in races and being around other runners, and then figured out, like some people struggle to call themselves a runner.
Exactly.
Which I think is really interesting. Yeah. So I try to help people with that. Actually, I really love working with beginner runners, and that's where you found me, was in the group. So in the beginners running group, and just helping build their confidence. And they come in and make comments like, well, I'm not very fast, or I can't just run, I have to run walk. Like, that's okay, you're still running, you're still doing more than somebody sitting on the couch. So
exactly,
to me, if you're moving your body, you should respect yourself, and you can call yourself a runner. It's okay. Nobody's judging you.
I'm going to come back to the group in a minute. I want to talk about that a little bit, like why you set it up and things. But first, one of the questions I wanted to ask is, because it kind of relates to the identity and calling yourself a runner thing. Has there been a period where you haven't run, like since you've been running as an adult, because of an injury or something like that? Like, have you had like a long period where you just couldn't run? You wanted to, but you couldn't.
Yeah. not super long. I mean, I've had several injuries. I've had back problems on and off for many years. So there was a time um, when I was pretty new working in my career and I hurt my back, and so I couldn't run for quite a while. I remember trying to like ease back into that even before my physio told me that I could, um, but I needed to get back to it. So it was a struggle, but I made it. And then just a couple years ago, I think it was, my daughter like jumped on my back and my foot was in a really weird position. And so I think I may have had like a small fracture in the outside of my foot. Every time I like went to run, there was just a sharp pain. So I had to take some time off then too, and then build myself back up. So yeah, I've been on and off for years, just depending, but nothing has been majorly, I haven't had any other surgeries other than back in high school.
So when you couldn't run, for example, with the injury to your foot, how did you feel about that? Like, did you feel quite, I noticed myself, for example, if I've had an injury and can't run, suddenly everybody's running. Every way you see it, everyone's running, and all you want to do is go for a run. And it's just it's quite challenging to deal with.
It is. Yeah. It's a mental game for sure. I could bike, thankfully. So I did turn to that, and I could walk without pain. So
other outlets.
So it wasn't terrible, but it's hard, when you see everyone else doing it and you can't. So
exactly. So how long do you think that you will run for in your life? And I think I know the answer from some things you said earlier.
As long as I can. I mean, I want to be that 90-year-old that is still running.
Yeah.
I see them out there. I want to be one of those.
Yeah, me too. I love that. And so, learning, as you said earlier, you're in a great job in some ways, because you know a lot more about our bodies than most of us do, because you're in a medical profession. And I think that if you allow it, that can also help you, because you'll maybe listen to your body more.
We don't always make the greatest patients, but I have learned, yes, that you have to listen to your body. And thankfully I've learned ways to treat myself and fix myself. So I try to share that with others too.
Because one of the things we talk about on the podcast a little bit is that challenging thing that we all have when our body says, no, I don't want to run at the moment. And is that a lazy message that your body, just because your body's like, no, I just want to rest, because sometime soon I might need to, in the old days, like a very long time ago, we had to rest because any minute now we might need to run from a saber-toothed tiger, or we might need to run to catch our food or whatever. So, so we were built in this kind of, we should rest. So our body often will say to us, no, I don't really want to run today. But it's when that message is actually your body trying to tell you there's an injury and there's something wrong, and maybe you should slow down or you should stop and have a break at the moment. And it's understanding or knowing your body enough that you know what the difference is between, this is
it
just
takes time and kind of like trial and error to figure it out. And
because we keep
and it's
changing,
an ongoing process too.
Like
because
our
bodies they keep getting older, and so things don't react the same that they would. So it's ongoing process for sure.
In some ways, to me, that's really exciting, because it's a fascinating journey, and we're not just on the same path. Like the path, me running at 29 is nothing like me running at 53. It's like it's a different thing, and it feels different. I know, but it's still equally as enjoyable. So it's kind of a fascinating thing. Tell me a little bit about your Facebook group. I'll put a link to it as well in the
so I started that, I don't even remember when. It's been a few years now. I just, like I said, I've worked with runners for a long time, and it was when I was in the clinic, and I was just like seeing and hearing the same questions over and over again, and I'm giving the same education on the same stuff. And so I just, I thought there's got to be a way for me to share this with more people, because obviously more people need to learn this and hear this. And so I started a YouTube channel initially, and then kind of realized through working with a coach that, she's like, well, like, what kind of population do you like to work with? And I just thought, like, well, beginner runners they're just starting out. And so wouldn't that be the best place to like start educating them on what they'll need to know in order to not get hurt
and
when they're running? And so, yeah, exactly. So I started the Facebook group, and it was before the pandemic started even. But then obviously when the pandemic hit, like it blew up, people were running all over the place then. And so it was great. It's been great to we've got people from all over the world, and all different abilities now. I mean, I've got people coming in that are brand new, but there's also people that have stuck with me for the years. And so they're good examples for the new people coming in. And it's such a great, encouraging place. And I just love hanging out in there and helping people out as much as I can. So
I love that. And so for everyone, I will put a link in the show notes, but for everyone who's listening, it's beginner runner. Tell me exactly how they would find
the beginners running group.
Beginners running group. There you go.
Yep.
I just didn't want to get the two words the wrong way around, because who knows what Facebook will show you.
Yes, there's tons of running groups out there, which is so great.
Yeah, I think. Have you found that that runners themselves are very supportive of each other?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's like they're the best kind of people.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything negative.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty great.
That's awesome. A little bit more about your running. When you're running, do you like to run while you're listening to something, or do you run without anything in your ear, or a bit of both?
I do both. Yeah. Lately, my brain has to multitask because I just don't have time for everything I want to do. So I'll listen to podcasts, and usually it's some kind of educational, personal growth, business stuff, health and wellness podcast, like stuff like that. So I need to add yours to my list to listen to. But yeah, I just love to listen to and be educated while I'm working out. So it used to be music back in college, but at that time I was taking a break from learning when I was running. So now I want to, it's like a switch. Now I want to learn while I'm running. So
I used to call it, because I listen to audiobooks as well as
I've done that too.
And I used to call it my mobile university.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
which I thought was really cool. So do you also run without things sometimes? Or
I do, yes. Yeah, I encourage other people to do it too, like, because we get in our own heads, and when you're not paying attention, when you've got something to listen to, you're not really paying attention to your body and your surroundings and stuff too. But yeah, I like to unplug and just be aware of my surroundings, what my foot strike sounds like, what my breathing sounds like. Just being in nature. It's just good for the soul. So yeah, I like to unplug every now and then.
I call some of that mindful movement, when especially if we're actually being mindful and we're not necessarily being carried away with our thoughts, because they can be as loud as any music or any
exactly. Yes. Yeah. My mom asked me one time, because of course when I was younger we didn't have things to run with. We had giant Discmans, you didn't run with those.
I did run with one of those once.
I've done it. Of
course, I've done it.
No, because it skips. You had it in your hand, and then it would skip. So she asked me. She's like, "What do you listen to, or what do you think about when you're running?" And I like whatever comes in my head. I mean, just sometimes nothing. Sometimes it's just, oh look, the birds, or So it's just great to let your mind wander sometimes.
It is, yes, I agree. You can sort out almost the problems of the world, and then you come home and you realize actually that was very not a clever solution to whatever.
Yeah, maybe not the answer.
I think because you don't have so much oxygen in your brain, it's all out in your limbs, keeping you, propelling you forward.
Yeah.
So even though it seems like a good idea when you're running, when you finish, it's not always. Anyway,
yeah,
which I always found fun. Do you run on trails and things there as well? Or you?
I like to. I used to more when I was living in Wisconsin. We had a lot more access to trails. Now I'm in North Dakota, and it's very flat. We do have some trails down by the river, which are really fun, and at state parks and stuff. But you have to drive to them, and I don't like to do that. So, so we have like bike trails that I like to run on. A lot of them that like go along the river, which is really pretty. Otherwise just around the neighborhood. So
I sort of understand that just because I watch movies. I live in the country, so personally, when I head out the door, there's no lights. And if it's say nighttime, you have a head torch, and there's all sorts of things. It's quite different.
I would bet.
Quite a different perspective. It's kind of interesting. What is your favorite distance to run?
Oh, that's a good question. My favorite race, I think, is a 10K.
Mm-hmm.
I like that distance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be my answer right now.
And when you're actually training, when you're like, so now when you go out for your runs, what sort of distance do you do in your training runs?
The two during the week are usually faster, hills or speed work or something, and so those are usually like 2 or 3 miles, so not as far. Weekends I try to go longer, so I did 4 this last weekend, and trying to get back up to 6. So and longer 10K? When it's nicer out. When it's nice, that's 10K.
Like my brain
6,
is 10K.
Yes, so. And when it's nicer out and the weather's great, the trails are great, like it's hard to stop, so it just depends kind of on the weather too.
So tell me about the weather where you are in winter. What does that look like?
It's crazy. It's been a rough winter. We've had a ton of snow and really cold. Usually it's one or the other. Usually it's like either super cold without much snow, or it's lots of snow and it's not real cold. But this year we've had both, so it's been fantastic. It's March, so it should be warming up now, but it was 5 above today. We have what's called a wind chill advisory, which means when the wind blows, it gets really cold, like below 0. So we've had a lot of below 0, or I don't know what that is for you guys, but
it's very cold.
It's cold. Yeah, it's cold. So it makes winters tough, but that's when, when I would have races, like that's when I needed that spring race or that summer race scheduled, so that I had to just train like through the winter. Like that really helped me out mentally, when I was training for races and stuff. So that was motivation.
Like it's fascinating for most of us here in Australia. And even though I live in Tasmania, which is the coldest part of Australia, if you ask any Australians, very like we just don't have snow. I think we had snow on the ground here last year or the year before. I think it might have been the first year of COVID, and that was nobody had ever seen that. Like and it lasted for, it was like this much. It lasted for a day, and it was like a once in a 100-year thing. Like we have snow on the top of the mountains, but people generally don't live where the snow is. So for us, it's quite fascinating, that concept that so many people live in houses where they open the door, or they can't open the door, I assume sometimes. When there's so much
sometimes it's frozen shut.
It's just quite foreign to us.
It's a challenge for sure.
Because we whinge about it being cold in winter, but it's nothing to do with snow, it's just cold. Mind you, a lot of my running is done in winter. We prefer winter running here because it's quite a bit warmer in summer, and
I'm sure
we enjoy the running in the colder air.
Yes.
How hot does it get for you in summer then? Is it just one extreme to the other?
We can get up to 100, but that's pretty rare. So usually 70s and 80s. So.
Yeah. So in saying that, one of the questions I often ask people is, do they have any tips or tricks to actually get out the door on those days when the weather is just not, or you're just really tired, of course.
Yes. Schedule it. I mean, schedule it, lay your clothes out, have planned what you're going to wear.
Yeah.
Check the weather. Yeah. Anyway, to prepare yourself. And
I've been known to, because I'm not very good at, if I say I'm going to do it in the afternoon, if I'm not meeting people and I'm just doing it out of my own volition, I find that more challenging. If I do it first thing in the morning, it's pretty good. But if for some reason I've got lots of things scheduled for work, I will actually put my running clothes on underneath the clothes I have on, because that's a path of least resistance. All I have to do is
that's perfect.
Take the top layer off.
Yeah.
And then I can head out the door for a run. And I find I'm a little bit more likely to go if I do that.
Yeah.
Because I think the moment you put your running clothes on, if you
have
don't
them
go,
on, you can't not work out. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. That's what I do on the weekends, because weekends I usually run during my kids' like nap time or quiet time. So it's in the afternoons. And same thing. I start to get tired and like, oh, a nap sounds kind of good. But in the mornings when I get dressed, I will put basically my running clothes on. So that, same thing. If I don't do something with them, then like I've wasted the day,
That's right. Exactly.
So that is a good little trick.
It is. With your kids as a mum as well, I often think about the example that I've provided for the kids, being that they've pretty much only known me as someone who runs, or a mum, an adult who runs, rather than as I was growing up, although older people did do some sport, it wasn't. It was like, oh, they occasionally played golf, or here they played cricket or whatever. But it wasn't like an everyday thing. It wasn't like a brushing your teeth. Like for me, running regularly during the week, it's a bit like brushing your teeth. I just wouldn't not do it. And I'm hoping that example passed on to them will be useful for their life. How do you think about that with your kids and the example you're providing?
Yeah, I hope I'm setting a good example, of taking care of my body and I don't know, just moving and how good it feels and how good it is for you. And I guess I haven't thought about a lot about that, but I do. I hope I'm setting a good example for them. So
my youngest is 18 now, so and my oldest is 30. So I have 5 of them, so I have had plenty of time to think about this.
Yes, I suppose. And your part is mostly done then, I suppose.
Yes.
I mean, for some of them, good job, Mom.
There's 2 left at home. So, but they take care of themselves. They don't really need me anymore. So all of those things that you talk about, which become a barrier, but at the same time, and I can remember pushing the pram and having some of them, on their little bikes behind me. And then as they got a bit older, they were all on little bikes, and now the older boys, the ones who are still at home, I can't keep up with them at all on the time when they've been come running with me over the years. I don't even try now.
Yeah, just, that's cool.
Yeah, impossible. We actually, a funny story with that. One of the reasons I like the benefits of running is that here the running club that we belong to is a handicapped running club. So we all started at different times, so anybody has a chance to win. So it's sort of based on your speed and things over the period of time. Anyway, it's kind of cool, but it means that at some point in the last couple of years, I was in a race with my boys. They chose to be in the longer race, and so I started miles ahead of them, of course, because I'm so much slower than them. And then I had everyone screaming at me as I was coming to the finish line. It was about an 8K, and it was because all of the other 2 were coming back. They were trying to catch me. So and there's a picture of the finish line, and there's me crossing about 1 step ahead of one of the boys, and then one step back was the other boy. So we literally crossed the line. Anyway, it was cool.
Oh, cool.
I was like,
That's
oh,
cool.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
But just being able to do that, as a family and get out and enjoy that movement. It's something that I always treasure.
Yeah.
So, and I've also talked on the podcast about that being, even if they don't run much as children, when they see you as their parent running, I think the rudimentary way we understand who we are as individuals is that we're part of our parents. Like that's our genetics anyway. We then change as we develop into individuals. But physically, if your parent does something, that means in the future, if you really wanted to, you could. So it's like a toolbox thing in my mind, so that even if they decide they never really run as children, but then when they get older, they think, oh, I really need to get fitter, I need to get healthier. That's just one of the things they'll think is in their toolbox that they can do. It's part of their genetics. It's just my rambling theory around that.
That's good. Yeah, it makes sense.
It does, I hope. Well, it does to me. Now, a question I love to ask, and I'm always fascinated by the answers to this question, and that is, how do you think, Stephanie, that running has improved your life? So if you didn't have running in your life, what would you be missing?
Oh gosh, I think my stress and anxiety would be out of control. And I'd probably be quite overweight because I really like to eat, especially when I'm stressed. So that would be terrible. I don't know. I just feel like I would be unhappy, unhealthy, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to imagine that.
Let's not do that.
Yeah. So it would be very different. Relationships would be different. I mean, when I can run and deal with the stress and everything, I'm so much happier, and I can be a better mom and a better wife and friend and daughter and all of that stuff. So it makes a big difference in my life.
Do you get thrown out of the house sometimes to say, go for a run?
I haven't, but I need to tell them to do that. No, I usually schedule it, before they're even out of bed. So I take care of it myself, and then the rest of the day is all of ours. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
In fact, I love the morning runs. They're the best. Have you had what they call the runner's high? Can you think of time where it's just everything seems to be in the flow, I guess, and one step after the other, just effortless?
I mean, I suppose I have. I can't really think of a time that sticks out. I suppose like the one time that I can think of is when I was running the Boston Marathon, and there's like the last stretch after you turn the corner, and there's just crowds, and I mean, I can't remember like feeling anything in my body, at that point.
Oh,
wow. So just knowing that I was going to finish that. I mean, it's just such a cool experience. I just don't ever think there's ever going to be anything like it for me. So that was probably, if you can call it that, the closest I've gotten to the runner's high. Yeah.
So when did you do Boston? Just out of curiosity.
It was in 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a little while ago.
Yes, it was now. Yeah.
Can you see more marathons
back when I was
future?
faster? I think I would do them again. Again, right now with the ages of the kids, it's just hard to put the time to train in, and I've done one without the training, and it wasn't fun. So no. I would need to train, So I think I could at some point. I wouldn't discount like an ultra at some point too. We'll see.
On the podcast, I've had a number of people on recently who do multi-day events, like the 250 kilometers or whatever over 5 days. They might run a marathon or something a day, and then they have a nap, and then they do it again.
That's crazy.
And I think maybe it's the thought of having a nap in between. I'm like, oh, maybe I could do that.
Yeah. I don't know, it'd be hard to get up and go again though.
I know. I keep thinking, And then they mention, and it's okay to walk, because a lot of these are trail runs as well, in amazing, beautiful parts of the world as well. It's just like, whoa, it's very alluring, some of that.
Yeah.
Like, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Let's see. Yes, I'm only 53. Maybe one day.
Yeah, you've got time.
Yeah, that's right. Is there anything about running that we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about?
I don't think so.
Or have we done an awesome job of
We've hit a number of things. Yeah.
touching in things? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am, as I said, going to get people to come over to your Facebook group.
That'd be awesome.
But also, I don't let anybody leave the podcast unless they answer these questions, which is, this question. Do you have any tips for beginner runners?
I do. I have so many, but
I thought you might.
I will keep it down. So my biggest thing for beginners is to have a plan, because if you don't have a plan and you just go, that's where I see lots of runners getting hurt and frustrated, and then they stop, and it's hard to get that motivation to go again. So having a plan, and one that fits into your life and you'll actually stick to. I really try to recommend that for everybody. I
love that.
Yeah, so that's a big one for me. Listening to your body. I try to kind of help people figure out how to do that, because it's not easy. No. I don't think it's intuitive to a lot of people. So paying attention to like those little aches and pains, and doing something about them before like it becomes a full-blown injury. So I really encourage that a lot too. So let's see, that was 2. I don't know, just like keep it simpler than what it is. I mean, it's just, there's so much information out there right now, and everybody's got the answer, and so it's hard to know what to do, but running isn't complicated. I think that's why I love it. Like, you don't need equipment, really. You don't need even fancy running clothes. I mean, I used to run in whatever t-shirt I had and some soccer shorts, I mean, it doesn't matter really, so make it simple, but have a good pair of running shoes and get fit for running shoes, because also that can lead to injuries. So that would be my 3, I guess. There's lots more, but
oh no, I love that, because as you said, it's simple. Like, I think I honestly believe we're all physically able to run, unless you do have some kind of genetic thing, physical thing, but pretty much everybody is made to be able to run. We're not all made to run fast. We are not all, and that's fine. We just all made to run. It's just a little bit quicker than walking. That's
I agree, Michelle. I say that all the time. I completely agree with you. Yes,
get out there. And I think it's not even that we're just made to. I think we're supposed to. I think that our bodies are made in a way that,
like you said, we did, our ancestors, they had to, and now, because I think it's because we don't have to, and because we sit so much, that's why we should. That's why we need to.
We need to head out the door all of the time. Anyway, it has been an absolute delight to speak to you, Stephanie, and I really enjoyed getting to know you. I hope we can send some more people over to the Facebook group as well, and especially people wanting to get into running and get more inspiration and support. So I do appreciate it. We might have another chat in the future, because I think we've got lots of things in common we can talk about. And encourage more people to head out the door for physical and mental health reasons.
Absolutely.
Especially in this crazy day and age that we're currently living in.
We need all the help we can get.
Exactly. So thank you, Stephanie. Stay on. I'll have a chat with you off the recording. But thank you for being here.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Fit Mind, Fit Body podcast. I'd love to talk to you about your running journey. So send me a message on Facebook or on the website and let's do it. For a bunch of resources on mindful running that will help you get and stay mentally and physically fit, head over to the website fitmindfitbody.co and I'll see you there. Plus, I'll be back here in your podcast player a few times a week. Hit subscribe now so that you don't miss an episode. And before you go, I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave a review. It'll help more people to find the podcast and get inspired to start running. I'll see you soon. Bye.